Thank you for joining for this episode of the TechSpective podcast. My guest this week is Mr. Jayson Street. So, Jayson, welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So last time you and I saw each other face to face was Houston Security Conference 2019, I think.
Okay. Was that when I had to run out because I was going to Brazil?
Maybe. I just know, I presented there. I actually presented a thing. It's been a while since I've been really on the tech, deep in the tech side of security. Right. My thing was more on the marketing side, and so I had a presentation on marketing buzzwords and also kind of talking about to an extent talking about like kind of ethics of marketing, because it was fresh on my mind at the time, because there was somebody who was at my company who left and went to work for a competitor. And it just occurred to me, I was like that. Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. I mean, the security industry is somewhat of a small world, and when you leave, there's pretty much only a handful of places you can go and do something similar to what you were doing. And that generally means that you end up at a competitor. And I was like, so if you talked to this person last week, they would have told you 100 reasons why you should go with our product and our company, and why the other company, why the competitor was not as good. And now it's a week later, and she's working there, and that's all flipped. And it's like, okay, so was she lying when she was telling people that our company was better than the competitor? Or is she lying now, saying the competitor is better than us? Right. And my general takeaway was none of it's lying. I mean, I think in marketing in general, not just cybersecurity or tech marketing, but marketing in general is somewhat of a game of exaggeration. It's like writing a resume. You focus on the things, you focus on the positives and exaggerate those a little, and you just sort of omit the things that you don't want to talk about.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I totally can see that. It's like, I think we talk about, cause I was the spokesperson for Pony Express. It's like for a while. And I explained to them, this is like, I'm not going to sell the product. It's like, I'm not very good at selling the product. It's like, I like what I like about it. And it's like, I genuinely loved their community, the Pwn plug. I used it a lot. It's like some of their other devices, they were doing a lot of innovation, a lot of community stuff. The Pwn pad was awesome. So it was that, but I never got into the we're better than X, or X is not as good as us for Y reasons, So yeah, I'm not good at sales.
Well, and actually in a somewhat similar vein, I mean, I don't see this as much anymore. It still exists, but I feel like it's not as front and center of a topic anymore. But once upon a time, it was very big deal of Windows versus Mac, Mac versus Windows, and especially the security side, it was always, well, Mac is just inherently secure. Mac is invulnerable. Why are you using Windows? It has all the viruses. And from a security perspective, I would always say, okay, well, it's not that Mac is impenetrable. It's that it's not the primary target. Like people can break into Macs just fine. But then many years after after kind of following this debate and always being on the Windows side, I did eventually get a MacBook Air, and I used it for like 3 years or so. I loved it. I had no problems with it. But my general takeaway was it wasn't the absolutely magical, pinnacle of perfection of computing that I was led to believe. Like, it still had issues. They were just different issues.
Exactly.
And so, it all comes down to, preference. And I've written about that when it comes to iOS versus Android too. It's like, they're very similar. I mean, I prefer iOS, but it's like, I'm not gonna tell you it's absolutely better. It's a subjective, consideration.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I abuse all operating systems equally. It's one of the reasons why I love VMware so much. It's like I have a MacBook Pro. I just recently got the MacBook Pros. I got it while it was still on the Intel, so it's like it was one of the last gen that they still did the Intel chip. So I just recently purchased one of those, and I did that because I wanted I use VMware Fusion on it, so I have Windows VMs, I have Linux VMs, I have some Alienware laptops. It's like I have some Razer laptops. I have a Surface Go that I use a lot. And I just do a lot of that through cross VMwaring. It's like where it's like I'll my VMwares are a little bit different though. I have a pfSense VM that has 2 NICs in it. It's like a private only network NIC and then a NAT NIC. And then I put all my VMs on private only, and their gateway is that internal private NIC of the pfSense. So all the traffic goes through the pfSense. So it's like I literally create a internal virtualized VLAN network that all my devices will talk on. It's like, and then they go out through just that one VMware. I'm weird.
Well, I mean, you know, I think, yeah, the people who, and you, I think, are maybe an extreme example of it, but just people in tech and security in general, I think, tend to have, you know, more unique setups than what. Mine is not the nearly that, but it is funny. The other day, my daughter is using a Surface Pro X, which is the Surface that runs on ARM.
Right.
And it's fine. Everything's fine. She's been using it for months. Not a problem. But she was previously using a regular Surface Pro, and then the other day she went to play Minecraft, and come to find out, Java-based Minecraft doesn't work on a Surface Pro X.
Ouch.
And so I said, okay, well, here's your options. You know, I'm like, I can go to my bag of computers, and she's like, wait, you have a bag of computers? I'm like, yeah, I've got a variety of laptops to choose from. I've got, you know, various Surface Pros and Surface laptops, and I mean, I've got the whole Surface line here sitting in my office. I said, so one, I can just replace it and give you one that will run Minecraft. 2, I can just give you back your Surface Pro that you were using before, and you can just use it purely for Minecraft. You know, or 3, you can, you know, there was a third option, which was there is a like Windows 10 app version of Minecraft that will work. You know, so like,
right.
But she didn't like that one. She wants the Java one. So, but anyway, she just thought it was funny that I was like, well, sure, let's just go to my collection of computers. Which one do you want?
I have one of those as well. It's like, and one of my favorite sayings, especially when trying to do any kind of organization with hackers, it's like I always say, it's like, hey, we're hackers. We can make this more complicated. It's like it's one of our gifts.
Well, you know, and let's talk about about hacker.
Okay.
And let's talk about the perception. You know. And,
Lordy. Yeah.
And the thing is, that's a really old. It's a really old debate. I mean, I'm not sure I could even find this anymore. But back in like 2003 or 4, when I was writing on internet and network security for About.com, the debate was going on way back then about, you know, well, what's a hacker? You know, is a hacker a good thing or a bad thing? You know, and is a hacker by definition a criminal? And it's like, well, no, you know, people just like to tinker with stuff. People like to see how things work and whatever. My take on it even back then though was sort of, I agree with this in principle. I agree in principle that a hacker is a good thing, and that there's the hacker mentality is awesome, and that doesn't mean you're a cyber criminal. However, I felt like even in 2004, the ship had sailed sort of in terms of like what that means to the public, what that means in the media, and that we can object every time that it comes up in a newspaper article or a magazine article or whatever. We can object every time, but it's not going to change the reality that the word has been co-opted.
Right. I'm an optimist, unfortunately. It's like I'm a defeatist optimist. It's like, I know I'm going to be disappointed, but I'm still an optimist anyway. It's like, but I will tell you I did a talk at DEF CON 22 that you can see on YouTube, Around the World in 80 Cons, which is one of my best talks I ever did, I think, which just literally tackled this subject on what it means to be a hacker. I'm also an advocate for Hack Not Crime. They have a Twitter and they have a Discord. They have a website on all that. And I also created a site called iRonin, ir0nin.com, that talks about what it is to be a hacker. But the way that I look at it, it's like, I think that it's not dead because there is a gradual, the Register news site has said that I've seen them shifting and not calling it, they're calling it cyber criminals. You see a lot of TVs now, shows where the hacker is the MacGuffin. The hacker is the person that solves the one key piece of information that helps things move along. And you're seeing them more and more positive. NCIS, it's like, has Abby, Criminal Minds had their hacker. So it's like, so there's these shows that are starting to show hackers in a more positive light. And in every interview that I always do in the news when it comes up, and what I especially try to bring home in the National Geographic episode was to explain, I can rob you with a gun. Okay? You can't automatically assume that I'm a gunsmith, that I know how to create a gun. You can't automatically assume that I'm an NRA member. You can't automatically assume that I'm a second rights amendment activist. I'm a criminal who has found a tool that makes it easier for me to commit crime. It's like a computer is a very, very easy tool to commit crime. These criminals are going online, they're looking at YouTube videos, they're getting in forums, they're downloading prepackaged malware, prepackaged software to commit crimes with, and then they're sending it out. They're following some of these crime kits actually have support lines for the criminals to call in to get support on the crime program that they have. That's not, how can we call them a hacker? They have no understanding of what they're doing. It's just like having a gun. It's like they don't understand how much gunpowder goes in a bullet. They just know how to shoot it. Right. And so I try to explain to people that. And when we go to with the black hat bank, the black hat hacker and the white hat hacker, I make it very simple. There are no hats. You're a hacker or you're a criminal. If I go to a bank that a employee had just gotten arrested for embezzlement, I don't go to my bank the next day and say, excuse me, I want to get a business loan here, but are you a black hat banker or a white hat banker? Because I noticed that one of your bankers just went to jail, and I don't want to deal with a black hat banker. I'd rather have a white hat banker.
Right.
Or it's like you go to a doctor and the hospital, another doctor had gotten arrested for criminal malpractice. Do you go to your doctor now and say, are you a white hat doctor or a black hat doctor? Because I only want a white hat doctor working on me. I mean, it sounds absurd.
No, it does.
Just as absurd when you're talking about white hat hacker, black hat hacker.
It's a very valid point. And I would say that from a media perspective, I agree that I see it as cyber criminals primarily now. However, right. The verb is still hacked. It's still right. Cyber criminals hacked.
Yes, because they're using the tools that a hacker has created. It's like they're using the tools that hackers may have created, or they're using tools based off of vulnerabilities or information that hackers may have discovered. Hackers have never, ever in the history of computers ever created a vulnerability. It's like, unless it was in their own program, what they've done is they discovered the vulnerability that was already existing in the program. They discovered it. And most of the times, the reason why people know about it is because it was a hacker who reported that discovery and that vulnerability so it could be patched. So Dan Kaminsky, it's like one of the most premier examples of what it means to be a hacker in its truest sense, discovered a flaw in DNS that would have taken and destroyed the internet. It's like, what did he do with it? What did he do with that kind of power? It's like he got all the organizations, all the people that deal with the internet. It's like, and he got them together privately, and he fixed the problem before it was ever public. It's like, that's what a hacker does.
Yeah, that's very valid point. And I know one of the other elements of frustration when it comes to cybercrime is on the image front. Like, so when I publish blog posts, all day, every day on my site, on other sites, and I go out and I say, well, I've written this article. It's about this, cybercrime that happened. Let me go find an appropriate image for this thing.
Yes.
And 9 out of 10 images are somebody in a hoodie in a dark room typing code. Yeah. And I know that every time someone publishes a picture of a hacker or a cyber criminal as a quote unquote hacker in a hoodie, it takes a year off of Chris Roberts' life.
Yeah, Side Dragon. Yeah, I actually, I tell you right now, I think it was the year of DEF CON 27 or 26. I spent the whole year going to every con, and I was dressed up in custom made, hand tailored shirts, dress shirts with French cuffs. It's like so I had cufflinks, and the reason why was because I was trying to show. It's like this makes me more dangerous because I'm not fitting your preconception of what a technical person or a hacker is. And that puts you at a disadvantage. It's like, because you don't assume, because we make so many visual cues like, oh, that's what that person is. Humans like things to be in little boxes. The problem is hackers have a very hard time going into boxes. It's like, so that's one of our biggest problems. And also it's like, when I was mentioning computers, and we mentioned computers this whole time, and that is one of the biggest flaws, one of the biggest fallacies of hacking. I know a lot of good hackers that hardly work with computers, because hacking is not about just being on a computer. Da Vinci was a hacker. Leonardo da Vinci was one of the most uber hackers in the world. He created an armored car. He created an airplane. Being powered by a fly, was able to actually fly. He created scuba gear. It's like, this was in the 1800s. It's like, he was an uber hacker. Turing, Ada Lovelace, first computer programmer before there were computers. Ultimate hacker. Hedy Lamarr, actress, creating Bluetooth and helping with Wi-Fi and creating all these technologies. So there's all these people that created and did things that were hacking related, and it wasn't necessarily about computers. It's a mentality, and it's a way to be curious and passionate about discovery. That's what hacking is.
Well, I don't disagree. It's just that like I said, it does continue to be a conversation that needs to be had.
Yes.
And I guess to your point of being optimistic, I will admit that there's progress that has been made. Yes. But the fact that it's 15 years later and we're still having the conversation.
Oh yeah, I'll leave it with this one statement. It's like, I put a really nice, cool lazy boy on top of that hill. It's nice and comfy. It's got a coaster. That's a good hill that I'm going to die on. It's like, I've gotten real comfortable on that hill. So yeah, I don't mind dying on that one.
All right. So we talked a little bit about, before we kind of kick things off. And yeah, you had said that, one of the things that you're kind of focused on and passionate about right now is security awareness. So like, tell me about, what's your take on that as it stands right now?
We've got a lot of work to do. I started off over 20 years ago in information security. My first job was over 20 years in 2000 in information security, dealing at an internet only bank, and I was doing the blue team. I started off on defensive network security administrator. I got into the point where I was building out the defenses. I was working on the technology. I never factored in people except for as a liability. I did start trying to do some security awareness a little bit there, but not very much. I'll be honest with you. I was not very good at it then. I was just starting out. And then I started more and more getting into when I was doing the blue team, it's like around 2003. My eyes were open. 2004, more honestly, it's like 2004. First DEF CON, I started understanding the other side of it. It's like the finding the vulnerability side of it. And about 2010, I got into the red teaming, the offensive side of security, and fully with the intent to make my defenses better. I went in not trying to break stuff, but was like trying to figure out, okay, I built all these defenses for the last, almost 10 years for my the bank that I worked for. Let's try to tear it apart and see what I missed. Let's see what I didn't do right. And that's when I realized that's why they were so important, that both were so important to have. And then around 2010 as well, I started getting into social engineering and compromising the human. And it was about 2015 when I realized it's really easy to break the stuff. And I wasn't doing really good credit to, I was not doing good. I was not providing a great service to my clients because I was just showing them where the flaws were, but I wasn't really helping the people that I'd compromised. And that's when I had that epiphany and I started realizing I'm not going to red team anymore. I'm not going to be the uber elite ninja hacker guy. I'm going to go in on usually a 3-day engagement. I'm going to spend the first 2 days being the worst possible thing in the worst possible way that I can. And then on that last day, I'm going to get caught. And I'm going to train them. And I'm going to give them that win. And I'm going to explain to them why they did good. I'm going to give them something positive to come from it. On the first 2 days, every time I've left a facility, I would wait for about 2 minutes. And then I would come back in with a representative of the company. And I would explain to them, hey, this is what just happened. I was a bad guy. This is why it was a problem. This is what you can learn from it. This is not going to get you in trouble. This is not going to get your name on a report. This is purely for educational purposes. So, and that's part of social engineering as well, because I was trying to make sure I was social engineering the lesson so they would not take it negatively and see it constructively. It's like it took just as much effort as breaking into the building as patching that trust that I had just broken. It's like before I left. And that's what I've started the whole progression. So that's the reason why I think security awareness is so important, because instead of trying to find more technology to protect humans, we need to get more humans better trained on how to protect the technology.
The whole thing you were just talking about social engineering and stuff, it reminded me of, and I don't remember the exact details, but there was a story, 10 plus years ago of the guy who just went into an office building and sat at a desk and started working, and he was writing about it, but he didn't work for the company. He just went in and sat at a desk and then asked somebody, hey, who do I call about getting an internet connection, and who do I call about getting a phone? And people just helped him, and he got.
I remember that.
And it was like, I think it was after a few months of these like kind of serial articles about this experience that somebody finally caught on and was like, wait a minute, that sounds like our company. He's describing our building. And for a while when I was not on the journalist and marketing side, when I was actually working in security, I worked at EDS and I worked primarily for a lot of that time with General Motors as my customer. And I'd go to a General Motors facility, and they had pretty, what seemed like pretty decent security. You had to have a badge to get in. You had to like stop at the front desk, and if you didn't have a badge, and security would, give you a temporary badge or escort you in or whatever. But it didn't take me long to figure out how easy it would be to just shoulder surf in. I mean, it would
exactly.
You just walk in, just pretend like you know what you're doing, and just walk in. And once you're in, it would be real easy to do that exact same scenario of just sit at a desk and just like you could literally you could probably do that for months before anyone would figure out that you're not supposed to be there.
I totally agree. The worst thing for a company that is worse than no security is that false sense of security. I have 100% success rate breaking into every facility that I have tried. And the one thing that has totally they have all in common is that once I breached that initial barrier, that initial perimeter, everybody assumed I belonged. Everybody assumed because they were in a safe environment, they knew that they had to go through a badge check. That's the reason why the security theater at the TSA is works so well. It's people like, oh, this is really inconvenient. I have to take my shoes off. I have to go through the naked body scanner. It's like I have to do all these things. It must be secure to fly. Oh my gosh, I could tell you stories of the things that I've gotten through or that I've done, but I'm not going to because that's all hypothetical. Because I like flying. But the whole point is that it's just that false sense of security. It's like the more we try to do that, as soon as that person breaches that first perimeter, they usually have free reign. I broke into a facility right across the street from Ground Zero in the financial center. There were looks like SWAT guys with machine guns and K9 units walking through the concourse areas. There were some federal buildings there that adjoined to it. I had to get on the second floor. There was the elevator lobby that you had to go through a metal detector and X-ray, and you had to go through a desk, which they would they would have to vet you for one of the offices upstairs. It's like to get up, and so you have to provide ID and everything else like that. I got through all that, and I totally destroyed that company because of the fact that everybody just assumed that because it was so hard to get up to that floor into that office, I must have been allowed to be there. And I was wearing a Your Company's Computer Guy t-shirt or work shirt.
Well, when when I first moved to Texas, I came here for a role with BTINS, and I did a gig with Pepsi Frito-Lay up in Plano, and
Pepsi.
Yeah, and their security was similar in that you'd go in, you're in a sealed, foyer. You can't get into the building unless somebody like buzzes you in or whatever. So you got to go to the front desk, and I'd go up there and I'd say, "Hi, I'm Tony Bradley. I'm here for XYZ." And they're like, "All right, well, who's your liaison or who are you supposed to be working with?" And I'd say, "Well, so and so," and they'd say, "Okay, cool," and they'd print me off a little sticker temporary badge and just buzz me in. And that was it. I was like, okay, well, now I'm just in the building. Like, they don't know where I went after that.
Yeah, it's amazing what people will assume they're supposed to be there. It's like I've gotten in before where I've literally just gone to Instagram, saw someone who had for the company I was targeting that they had published their employee badge on Instagram. And if you want to understand how much work we still have to do in security awareness training, go onto Instagram and do a search for a hashtag new job or hashtag new badge and see all the user ID badges. And then someone I knew had a badge printing machine. They just printed out a facsimile of that, and I was able to walk in with no questions at all. And the badge did not work. It just appeared. It was just the regular badge.
Right. I mean, right. So in that case, like, you still have to kind of shoulder surf somebody, but nobody's going to question you because you've got a badge visible.
I walked in with a cell phone. It's like it was an open office, and I just walked in with like a cell phone, like I was, supposed to be there. It's like if I have a Proxmart, I have a Boss cloner. It's like I could still have probably cloned an ID badge, but it was not necessary.
It's funny. All that stuff reminds me too of stuff. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, and so my favorite movies in the 80s were things like Beverly Hills Cop and Fletch.
Yeah.
And those were it's all the same kind of thing. Like Fletch and Axel Foley were just phenomenal social engineers.
Exactly.
Like, literally all they did was go from place to place, act like they knew what they were doing. invent a persona and just convince people to give them things, based on that.
The whole thing, what I tell people, it's like, because you see a lot of people that like to grandstand in our industry about how late they are or how well they're able to do something, and they like to be all very, testosterone field aggression of like, I'm red team. It's like I've got this, and I'm like the offensive guy, and I'm like, no. It's like you hear APT, it's like, oh, APT. It's like we're advanced persistent threats, which that's not what APT stands for. APT does not stand for advanced persistent threat. CEOs and other companies and governments want you to think that's what it stands for. APT stands for adequate phishing technique, because 99% of all the compromises are coming from an adequate phishing technique. But I don't do that. I do bad. I just tell people I'm bad. Basic, adorable destruction. The bare basics. This stuff is actually so easy. I can do it. It's like, and I don't use a lot of advanced techniques. I don't do MLM, whatever that stuff is. It's like, I don't do facial expression. I just go in, and it's like, and I just have that confidence, and I just act like I'm supposed to go in there. And people like to counteract that with like, well, Jayson, it's like, of course you're confident. You're not going to get arrested. And I'm like, are you serious? Do you understand how stupid criminals are? Do you think criminals are committing crimes because they think they're getting arrested? They all think they're going to get away with it. It's
right.
Like they're all overly confident. They obviously have very poor decision-making skills, or they wouldn't be committing crime.
Right. Well, and to go back again with the Beverly Hills Cop and Fletch, it's like it's the confidence is all you really need.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a reason it's called a confidence game. There's a reason they're called con men. It's like that's the whole game right there. Is just having confidence and instilling confidence.
I agree.
So let's go back to the tech side a little bit. Like one of the things I see, when it comes to phishing, and so social engineering on a technical scale, we've said forever, as long as I've been involved with cybersecurity at all, don't open file attachments from people you don't know. Don't click on links and emails from that you're not aware of. What's on the other end. Yada yada yada, and that just doesn't. A, it doesn't seem to be working, but B, it's also just illogical. Like the whole point, most people's job literally is to open file attachments on emails and click on links. That's what people do for a living.
I totally agree with that up to a point. I think one of our biggest failings that our industry has done to the user is we have ingrained in users so much of the concept of phishing as being the 419 scam. The misspellings, the bad English, the off words, and we keep using time after time after time as those are the examples. It's like, and that is the reason why phishing to this point has gotten so successful. It takes me less than an hour to come up with a successful phishing technique. People have all this information that they're giving out on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever. There's so many different avenues. I can get pertinent information to mimic a coworker, to send you something that is relevant to you. It's like to make you click on that link. What we need to do is stop getting people to say, don't click on a link, and to start thinking, would they have sent me this link? Was I supposed to receive an attachment from them? My job is to accept attachments from certain people all the time. But my CEO reaching out of band to tell me that they need a wire transfer or they need to buy iTunes gift cards for a client, which is an actual email that was successful on someone, it's like that I'm familiar with. We don't train for that. It's like, so what we need to do is just start giving. You don't give a delivery driver on their first day at the job the keys to the company van and tell them, go have fun. It's like, make sure you do all your deliveries. There is training. You show them what kind of security devices you have in the vehicle, that they have to wear a seatbelt, that they have to do all these certain things, and they have to abide by the laws. They have to abide by the company policy. All these things are done before they're allowed to go drive a $50,000 vehicle. But we give our users computers that have access to millions of dollars. The Target breach was over $300 million lost. $300 million lost on that Target breach. And that was because of one email from a company that they were a partner with. So we have to start teaching our customers, and our clients are our customers, that, hey, critical thinking. Were you expecting this email? Does this seem like something that this person normally would send? And if not, call them on the phone. Reach out of band and say, did you send me this link? It takes an extra 3-minute step or less. And it's like, and it will possibly could save your company millions.
So I agree with all of that. I, however, also would add that operating system vendors, application developers, cybersecurity companies, you know, all of those things need to do a better job of just recognizing and stopping attacks. I don't want to put so much burden on the user. You know, like
right.
You look at last year. Last March, COVID hits. Everybody goes into lockdown, and initially the message from most companies was, hey, there's this virus that's spreading. Out of an abundance of caution, we want everyone to work from home for the next 2 weeks, and we'll update you after that. Like, I don't know of anyone who went into it with more than like a 2 or 3 week mindset. Nobody was thinking they would be on lockdown for a year. So that created an opportunity for attackers, because now all I have to do is create an email that looks plausibly like it came from HR, that says, hey, here's our going back to the office policy, or
right. Totally agreeable.
And in that situation, given the sort of anxiety of the whole thing of dealing with a pandemic and trying to work from home while your kids are trying to do virtual school in the next room, and like all of the stress and anxiety of the entire situation, it's too much to then also add on to the user and say, oh, I also need you to really scrutinize when you get an email from HR that says what the new policy is.
Well,
and pick up the phone and call HR and ask them if that's legit.
Well, the good thing is, first of all, let me start off with, I disagree. It's like, so the reason why I disagree, I think that you are correct that this was an unusual, this whole dumpster fire that has been the last year or so has definitely put in some unusual situations. But I think what we could have used this more as an opportunity to better educate our users, because I'm one of those people that we don't give our employees enough credit. It's like, for one thing, and also the other thing is, why are we acting like security is an afterthought? Like security is an extra task that we're asking them to do. No. From day one, from the mailroom to the CEO, every person's job responsibilities for them to get a paycheck and for them to better feed themselves or their family and their offspring is required on them following company policies and their job responsibilities as they conduct their job. It's like, if you're in HR, your job is to do these certain things, and also your responsibility is to do it securely. If you're in an auto part plant, your job is to make certain auto parts. But that's not to say that you're not supposed to do that securely, that you're not supposed to do that properly and safely. It's like, you all have responsibilities to create a safe working environment. That is the same thing that we're asking them to do except for do it online and do it with, and because it's an intangible and because it's happening in the cyber world and it doesn't seem real. Because I tell people that work at banks, I've robbed a lot of banks, and I explain to people that big shiny vault thing that's in the lobby means nothing to me. That is show. It's like, I'm not going to rob you behind your counter and grab, maybe 100,000 if I'm lucky, and not get a shotgun blast to the chest from a police officer that shows up because someone tripped aside on an alarm. I go in with the USB drive. I go in and go into the network, and I can rob millions because every single computer terminal is a door to the vault. So we need to just start teaching from day one that their responsibilities for their job are this, and this, and security is one of those steps. Everybody knows what their job responsibilities are. Everybody has job responsibilities. And why aren't we just saying this is part of that job responsibility? But we're trying to make it seem, in our industry, we've made it for so long seem like security is an afterthought, like security is something else you're supposed to be doing. No, security is one of your main job requirements with everything else that you're doing, because people will do what is required of them to keep their job. It's not an extra task. It's not like an extra burden for them. It's like, it's just being treated that way by us. That's one of their job responsibilities that will have no problem doing to do their job.
Okay. I mean, I can see that, and I mean, kind of going back to the physical security side. I mean, everyone is told if you see somebody walking around that you don't recognize and they're not wearing a badge, you should challenge them, or
right.
And so we do convey that philosophy or burden, depending on how you want to put it, to employees of, hey, you are also responsible for the physical security of the workplace and making sure that strangers aren't running around, unmonitored.
Right. I believe that
not a huge leap to say, oh, and also you're also responsible for making sure there aren't strangers running around unmonitored in our network.
Exactly. And I believe in gamification. So in other words, they know what their job responsibilities are, but that doesn't mean we can't incentivize it for them to make it more interesting. I tell people in mostly every class I've done, in a lot of different talks that I've done, I've always said, create a lottery. Say that your company as a company is going to spend $2,000, $1,000 every quarter, every 3 months, so $4,000 a year. They're going to spend $1,000 at the end of the quarter for a drawing. So the price never changes. But to get an employee to be eligible to be in that drawing, they have to have done something security related. They had to have told if you told someone not to piggyback you and not to come in after you or shoulder surf, and it was detected or noticed, it's like you get 10 entries. If you report a credible phishing attempt, it's like you get 10 entries. If you report a phishing attempt that turned out to be spam or something like that, you get 1 entry. If you ask someone to see their badge because they didn't have their badge, that's 5 points. It's like 5 entries. So they all have all these chances. So more and more people have more chances the more you do security conscious related things that you should be doing anyway. And you know what's going to happen? People are going to be more security conscious, not because they care about our data all of a sudden. No, because we've shown that there's something in it for them. It's like something extra. It's like, and that's how you make it more incentivized, and you make it less of an afterthought, and just reinforcing the good behavior they should already be doing.
Okay. I can see that, and I was going to say that I have managed like social media and employee advocacy on social media at a couple different companies, and we always try to gamify that as well. And just look, should you want to follow our Twitter account and our corporate Facebook page and do what you can to amplify that? Sure. But people don't.
Right.
Unless you give them a reason. So if you tell them that there's maybe an Amazon gift card or a free pizza or something at the end of the tunnel, then they're more likely. And the thing is, when it comes to things like that, you don't have to. You don't have to give away a MacBook Pro.
Right.
There's a book I read many years ago, 25, 30 years ago. As All You Can Do Is All You Can Do by Art Williams, and in it he talks about he gave away T-shirts, and someone at the company was like, well, nobody's gonna do anything, nobody cares, like nobody's gonna go out of their way to do something so they can get a free T-shirt, and he's like, yeah, they will. It's like it's the winning of the thing. It doesn't really matter what the thing is.
It's the recognition. It's like a lot of that. It's like, and to have like security newsletters where you showcase people. It's like even the ones that didn't win the lottery, you showcase them, the runners up. It's like that recognition sometimes is enough.
We have let's see, we're coming up on June, so July, August. It's only a couple months till Black Hat.
Oh.
After a year and a half of lockdown and all events and travel and such being canceled, that seems to be the inaugural event of the kind of the reopening of security events. I am 99% sure I will be physically present in Las Vegas, and I'm looking forward to that. Are you planning to be at Black Hat in Las Vegas, or are you doing Black Hat virtually?
Dude, I am vaxxed, masked, and ready to hack. It's like so. Yes, I cannot wait. I've already had 3 conferences cancel in the last few months where I might have been in person. And so, yes, I'm ready to go. I got my vaccine. My second dose was like at the end of March. So I've had both my vaccine shots already, and I am more than one. And I still wear, and for the record, I still wear 2 masks out in public. It's like just because I'm paranoid, and I don't want to be, seen as stupid. So I still wear that even vaccinated, but I am totally 100% going to be in Vegas. I've got a lot of hacker fam that are going to be there. And I was talking to some of the organizers of DEF CON, and we were having a organizer conference call thing. And I was telling them, I said, look, it's like, it doesn't matter if DEF CON happens. There are going to be a lot of hackers in Vegas. If we have to just rent out the Alexis Park, it's like, and have our little fan meet up there too, because most of the hackers that I know of, like in my immediate circle, we all believe in science. We're all getting vaccinated. We're all getting prepared as soon as possible. It's like, and we take cautious because, we know about our security. We take that seriously as well. And so, yeah, it's like, we're definitely going to be there. It's like, we're going to meet up because we're also missing that element of being able to see and just like hang out. I did something last year with Grifter, and I did it with Dark Matter, SciDef, Adam 915, the Casey, Stumper. It's like I've done it with a lot of just a small group of us. I think it was only like 6 or 7 of us, and we met in New Mexico. And it's like just because the White Sands, it's like because we just had to meet up and have to see some hackers together, and just see part of our fam. And so we were all doing social distancing. We're all being quarantined. We quarantined before, we quarantined after. We saved a life while we were out. It's like in a car accident. So it's like the cab was on fire. It was pretty cool. So yeah, we had that. And so this is just another extension of that. It's just now everybody's going to be more involved. So yeah, I think there might be some hiccups with it, but DEF CON is taking this so seriously. More serious than a lot of people give them credit for. More serious than a lot of the hotel and entertainment industry right now, and the airlines. It's like they are taking it very seriously. It's like, but we need this as a community, as an industry would say, we need that connection.
Right.
I'm definitely going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people are really looking forward to it. One of the things I have a feeling, we'll see how it plays out. I have a feeling that for the vendors who are there, present at Black Hat, that one of the go-to swags is going to end up being masks. Like that's going to be the thing. It's like, I'm going to give you a mask, and it's like, you know what? That's cool. That's fine, but make it a quality mask. We have enough of that.
Yes.
Shirts. Like, don't give me your shit T-shirt. If you're going to give someone a T-shirt, give them a T-shirt they want to wear.
Right.
It's comfortable. It's quality. But if you give
N95 or bust, buddy.
With the masks, it's like, okay, I have no problem wearing your swag mask and showing off your logo and such, as long as it's a decent quality mask and it's not just a piece of fabric with your logo on it.
Yeah. There's been a lot of people talking about, I want so bad for DEF CON to have their badge that you have to display while you're in the conference to be an electronic N95 filtered mask that's got LEDs that you can program, and it's got maybe a Wi-Fi chip or something, Adreno in it. It's
really?
like, yeah.
Yeah, like even for Black Hat, be like, instead of having a badge, instead of having a lanyard with a badge hanging on your chest, be like, you must have this mask on to enter.
Exactly. So yeah, I would love that. I'm hoping to teach my class at Black Hat. It's like, even though it's going to be online virtually, it's like I told them, it's like I want to be there so I don't have to travel right after my second day of the class straight to Black Hat. It's like for the briefings. It's like I'm probably going to be in Vegas probably that Friday before Black Hat training starts. So I'm going to be there for over a week in Vegas, and yeah, I can't wait. It's like, I'm very excited. It's like, not being able to try. This is the longest I've gone out, not going out of the country in over a decade. My last trip was from Finland in February 19th, 2020 was when I got off the plane, and I have not been out of the country since then. And I've only been to New York once, and that was just like a week or two ago. It's been crazy.
And you chose the wrong state to be on lockdown in too.
Oh, I'm telling you, it's like.
But you and I are both in Texas, and it's like, this is not. I mean, Texas is one of a handful of states that you don't want to be on lockdown in, but this is not the one.
Yeah, well, that's mainly because people don't acknowledge the fact that there should have been a lockdown. It's like, it's been very frustrating. 2020 was very trying, especially living in Texas, because a lot of people didn't wear masks. It's like you had a lot of anti-maskers. You had a lot of people who denied what was going on, even as the body count kept rising. And that's one of the things that upset me the most. It was not, I didn't wear a mask for me. The mask was not going to protect me from getting the virus, possibly. It was to help protect everyone around me.
I think that the people who, are on the other side, the people who don't believe in science, the people who think COVID was a hoax, the people who think masks don't work or whatever, never understood that I'm not wearing it to protect me, because there was always this whole thing of, if you're afraid of getting the virus, just stay home. I'm like, I'm not wearing it because I'm afraid of getting the virus. I'm wearing it so I don't give you the virus.
Yeah. It's very frustrating. It's like, I was 2020 saw a much more hostile 20-year-old Jayson show up. When I was in my early 20s and like late teens, I was not particularly the greatest person in the world. And I was very confrontational back there, gotten a lot of physical altercations when I was younger. And I was just like, I was always on, because I saw everybody as a threat. It's like, it took me a while to process it too. It's like, was that the reason why was because any person that wasn't wearing a mask was an actual personal representation of a physical threat to me. And usually I dealt with that a lot more violently. It's like, but I couldn't just do that in these situations. I would call them out. I'd gotten threatened to get shot. I had gotten someone threatened to fight me. I had a lot of physical altercations not physical, but confrontations with people that were not wearing a mask while I was wearing a mask. And I told them that their policy was to wear a mask. They need to put a mask on. And I was okay with that. Now that it's swung though, and it's sort of cool now when I'm wearing the mask, because now when I wear the mask and I'm dealing with some person who's obviously not vaccinated, but they're not wearing a mask because they think they're being funny and they're tricking the system, they make fun of me or get mad at me or something like that. And I'm like, I'm cool with that, because you know what? I hope me wearing this mask pisses you off. You're going to be dead soon. Anybody that wants the vaccine can get the vaccine. It is about time that the people who are actually perpetrating it and actually allowing it to spread to be the ones that start suffering. All of 2020, a lot of stupid people died, but they took a lot of innocent people with them. It's like, and now we're going to get more and more of just the stupid people dying, and I'm okay with that.
I am okay with that as well. And actually, so when a week or two ago, when Abbott not only removed the mask mandate, but then prohibited state counties and cities from using any mask mandate. My initial reaction is like, well, what the fuck, dude? What?
Yeah.
But I said, oh great, so now if you combine that with the current CDC guidance,
right?
And it's like, okay, well now all the people who aren't vaccinated are just going to walk around without masks and just just say that they did, and I'm like, that's a problem. And then someone pointed out to me, they said, well, no, because those people already weren't wearing masks,
right?
It's not like their behavior changed as a result of any of this. It just it is what it is, and and I'm with you. I'm like, honestly, if it makes me a horrible human being, so be it. But I wish more of the anti-vax and anti-mask people would get it. Like, right. I feel like there hasn't been enough of that.
I'm sorry. I'm very analytical and somewhat sociopathic. So it's like it's like this. They are putting and jeopardizing lives. The more that we can get that out of the gene pool, the better. Right. And second of all, it's like I've never seen so many supposedly pro-life politicians work so actively against prolonging life and helping prevent death ever in my whole history. It's like, well, no, not in the whole history, in American history. There's some other countries where they were totally pro-death. But this one is it just boggles my mind that they say this one thing, but their legislation is actively killing people. And it just boggles my mind. And but yeah, I think that it's now incumbent on these people that are not vaccinated and who aren't wearing masks, that they're asking for what they want. It's like they want to be able to live free. They want to. Well, then you have to live with the consequences. It's like you want to F around, you got to find out.
Well, and I've seen a few different people share in the last week. There's this thing going around on social media of I don't know, some county health department I think put it out, but it says like, if you see someone who's still wearing a mask after the CDC requirements changed, please remember they might have an autoimmune disease, or they might have high risk loved ones or whatever. And it's this whole list of things. And I'm like, how about please remember it's none of your damn business?
Yeah.
Why do we need to issue guidance to tell people to please be kind if they see someone wearing a mask? I'm like, whether or not someone else is wearing a mask is none of your damn business.
Yeah, I honestly, I like wearing my mask. It's like out in public. It's like it makes me feel better because it's like, one, because of the safety involved in it. Second of all, it helps me because I get social anxiety sometimes. So it's like, it's like I like being able to be somewhat not incognito. I stand out anywhere I go with the way I dress. But one of the things that gets me the most about it, more than anything else, is Asian culture. It's like, if I've traveled all over the world, it's like, and I've been in Southeast Asia quite a bit for that whole decade. And one of the things that got me was when someone was sick and you know how to tell who a person was sick in a subway or on a street in Shanghai or Tokyo or Singapore, they would be wearing a mask not because they were afraid of getting sick or they thought something was, because they knew they were possibly contagious and they were trying to protect the community. They were showing social responsibility. Why has social responsibility and caring for our fellow people, it's like become so demonized and it can't be politicized at all. It's like, because it boggles my mind. I'll start ranting on it, but it's just, as a Christian and stuff, when the basic tenets is to help one another. And that's one of the things that I'm doing by wearing a mask and getting vaccinated. I'm trying to help for the greater good.
Well, and so I'm fully vaccinated. I'm still wearing my mask when I'm out and about. And I may just continue. I'm sort of in this place of like, I don't see why I need to stop. And when you look at like, yeah, we were all in lockdown and there wasn't, there was, very, very limited interaction between most humans, but cold and flu numbers were like dramatically, minimized as well. And it's like, well, let's keep doing that. There's always been this sort of like, you wake up, you've got a headache, you've got the sniffles, maybe running a low grade fever, but you're like, I'm tough. I'm going to work anyway. It's like, how about you don't? How about you just stay home and not get sick?
Yeah, I will. It is very, very, I do not foresee myself not wearing a mask for the rest of this year. It's like, I honestly don't. There will be certain situations where I will be with people and I will be more comfortable not wearing a mask. And outdoor situations, I've gone outdoor eating. It's like, and there's certain situations, but it's taken me a while. But in enclosed spaces and groups of people, I'm still comfortable wearing the mask. It's like in other settings, I feel more comfortable not wearing it because I believe in the science. I believe that it's like, even if I do get COVID now, it will be like a normal sickness that I'll just have to go through and get a fever possibly, or feel some aches. It won't be debilitating. It won't be where I lose my sense of smell. It won't be where I could die or be on a ventilator or destroy parts of my lungs. So I'm totally okay with wearing a mask through the rest of this year.
Well, and you've been to far more conferences than I have, and I've been to quite a few. It's a known thing, the conference flu. It's a
con flu is real,
right? You go to San Francisco or Las Vegas. You hang out with 20 to 50,000 of your closest friends from around the world. Viruses are going to spread. Things are going to be transferred, and so it's like, it really, really makes sense. Like, if you're at RSA or Black Hat, like, please, by all means, wear the mask.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, I want to kind of wind things up there, but I really want to, thank you for taking the time to join me. I think it was a fun conversation. You've been here in Texas for a while, but like I said, I haven't seen you since Houston Security Conference a while back. Right. So you have to try and get together sometime as the state opens back up. But if nothing else, like I said, 99% chance that I'll be in Vegas for Black Hat, and
awesome.
Meet up there.
I will virtually social awkward distance hug you when you get there.
Sounds good. Thank you.
See ya.